I'm Shantae Moore. You're watching NewsOne Now with Roland Martin on TV1.
A woman who worked for a congressional commission chaired by Florida Congressman Alcee Hastings received a $220,000 settlement after she sued the lawmaker in 2014 for alleged sexual harassment. As a chairman of the Commission on Security and Cooperation in Europe, charged with promoting international human rights, Hastings frequently traveled abroad with Winsome Packard, who was based in Vienna, Austria. Packer alleged in her lawsuit that Hastings repeatedly asked to stay at her apartment, visit her hotel room, frequently hugged her, and once asked her what kind of underwear she was wearing. The congressman denies the charges, telling Politico this matter was handled solely by the Senate Chief Counsel for Employment. At no time was I consulted, nor did I know until after the fact that such a settlement was made. I am outraged that any taxpayer dollars were needlessly paid to Ms. Packer. Yesterday, 3 women who accused Donald Trump of sexual misconduct are now calling for a congressional investigation into his behavior.
And it became apparent that in some areas, the accusations of sexual aggression were being taken seriously, and people were being held accountable, except for our president, and he was not being held accountable. In fact, his staff made a big point of calling us all liars.
In an objective setting, without question, a person with this record would have entered the graveyard of political aspirations, never to return. Yet here we are with that man as president. I want to believe that as Americans we can put aside our political inclinations and admit that some things in fact do transcend politics, that we will hold Mr. Trump to the same standard as Harvey Weinstein and the other men who were held accountable for their reprehensible behavior.
What I'm more concerned about is, as a culture in our country, what is acceptable behavior, and if the standard that our president is setting, it's not high enough right now.
They are just 3 of the 16 women who went public with their stories when Trump was a candidate and renewed their allegations as part of the Me Too movement. The White House once again denied the charges.
He thinks it's a good thing that women are coming forward, but he also feels strongly that a mere allegation shouldn't determine the course. And in this case, the president has denied any of these allegations, as have eyewitnesses. And several reports have shown those eyewitnesses also back up the president's claim in this process. And again, the American people knew this and voted for the president.
Also, the NFL Network announced late Monday that it had suspended analysts Marshall Faulk, Heath Evans, and Ike Taylor pending an investigation into allegations of sexual harassment and assault. The allegations were made in a lawsuit by a former NFL Network employee, Jamie Cantor, who sued NFL Enterprises, the league's media arm that operates the network, in Los Angeles Superior Court in October, alleging age and sex discrimination, sexual harassment, and a hostile work environment and wrongful termination, among other complaints. The lawsuit also said that Cantor had been harassed by former NFL players and ex-NFL Network analysts Donovan McNabb and Warren Sapp, as well as by the former network employee Eric Weinberger. Now, the president of the Bill Simmons Media Group and a former NFL Network executive was suspended by the media group as a result of allegations made about him in the same lawsuit. Now, also, let me pull out, you also have Ryan Lizza, who's a reporter for The New Yorker. He also was fired by them after they investigated a sexual harassment allegation. Now, so let's deal with this here. You have Congressman Hastings, who says he had no idea there was ever even a settlement. So I'm trying to understand, how could there be this entity that's set up to investigate and the member not know about a settlement? Was the member, so if someone alleges sexual harassment, what's the investigation?
Yeah.
Now, either he knew or he didn't know. He says he didn't know. So the question is, why won't they even reveal what the process is when somebody files a sexual harassment claim do you actually interview the member? Do you interview the person who you're alleging? That's what I'm just trying to understand.
Yeah, and it's also clear the process is broken, and beyond just the fact that there's not a lot of clarity about what goes on, the little bit we do know is that it's a terrible, degrading process for folks who actually do have legitimate claims of sexual harassment. It's long. You have to explain yourself. You have to go back. They make you wait 30 days. They make you wait 60 days. So it's a broken process. But the bigger point here is thinking about the Democratic standard versus the Republican standard on sexual harassment. And I think we all would agree we got to have one standard.
Absolutely.
We have to figure out what that one standard is. I don't think Democrats have effectively dealt with the laundry on their side of the closet. And I think Republicans are, and I hate to frame this in terms of politics, Republicans are winning this. In a month, Al Franken will not be in the Senate, and it's very possible that Roy Moore will be in the Senate. That is not better for women's rights. That is not better for any of us who feel like we need to do more to make a more equal society for women. So Democrats have to do better.
I need to point out something, because I was really impressed with Nikki Haley on Sunday, because she said what needed to be said. And as a taxpayer, all of these settlements need to be released. And if this settlement happened without him knowing, that is a travesty of justice. And as a citizen, I want to know who made the decision. So I think the process is broken on both sides. Now, there was the Republican congressman from Arizona who did step down for the having children claim. So, you know, Paul Ryan is taking some resignation. So I don't want to make it seem that it's only the Democrats that are getting rid of their folks. But as a taxpayer, I want to know all these settlements and the processes, as you and Roland pointed out.
Absolutely, but there still is others who are still who are still in Congress who are Republican, who have allegations against them. We still obviously have someone in 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue who has 16 women who he has admitted himself that he has assaulted, and you have someone who may be joining the Senate soon who is, quite frankly, a pedophile. And so what we have here is a situation, as you mentioned, it's not just that the Democratic Party is maybe doing a better job with sort of airing their dirty laundry. What's happening here on the other side is they're not cleaning their laundry at all. They're denying they have laundry for the most part. And the fact of the matter is, as a result, you have a situation now where no one is really sort of putting the pressure, and frankly, on this president that needs to be put on him to be held accountable for what he did. I'm happy to see those women stand up and say there needs to be at least congressional hearings so the public can really get to see all that he is exposed and sort of accused of, because while he may argue that he won the election, let's not forget that he lost the popular vote by more than 3 million votes.
Well, and again, I think that, as we're seeing this go forward, obviously companies are, okay, boom, firing somebody. And now you have Ryan Lizard who's saying, wait a minute, I was in a relationship with somebody. Her attorney comes out and says, oh no, we were not in a relationship. It's just like when the Republican analyst filed a lawsuit against Charles Payne at Fox Business saying that there was sexual harassment, but then there was an affair, and then she says, well, I was trying to get an analyst job. Okay, so and then later she said he was raped. So companies are immediately going there, and so the question is, moving forward, will you see this level of due process? It's just, and then again, do folks even care about due process, or is this a matter of, no, you got to fire folks now, they got to be gone?
Yeah.
I think this is a tremendous opportunity for our friends in crisis communications, because these companies need help. They need assistance. They get the email, they get the call from the attorney. They're afraid of the headlines, so they, Howard Ford example, it's a great example. They just immediately terminate the person without the full due diligence. But then you also have instances like with the Matt Lauer incident, where obviously there had to be some proof, something that came in. So within 24 hours, you get rid of your top person. So I think all of us have to have a conversation on a national level about what is the process to handle these types of complaints.
But as I see it, though, the due process issue is an important issue. However, I believe what's going on here is not so much an issue of due process. I think a lot of times people know that these people were doing these things.
Right.
You have women who have to sign these non-disclosure agreements, so companies know what's going on, but men aren't held accountable. We're just at a moment right now where finally people are being held accountable, such that when people are making allegations at this moment, those companies know, hey, this is not the first time I've heard of it, and now we're at a political moment where it's not good PR for us to hold on to these people. So they're finally throwing people under the bus that, quite frankly, probably should have been thrown under the bus years ago.
We also have to be able as a society to have two conversations at once, to acknowledge the sins of the past and acknowledge that we have been terrible on this issue and that this has been something that we've ignored for far too long, but also make sure that we preserve due process and that we get to the truth and that we don't just go for the easy solution, which is just to fire somebody and erase them from the record books.
All right,
Weekdays on TV One.
I will never lie to you.
oh my God.
Roland Martin.
He doesn't want to talk to us. He wants to ignore us.
Uncensored.
Hell no.
That ain't gonna cut it, boo.
Unapologetic.
No, that is fundamentally false. You are wrong.
He
Unfiltered.
wants an America where we all look alike. He ain't talking about black people.
Unrelenting.
You better go work out, because you got a fight on your hands.
NewsOne Now with Roland Martin. Weekdays at 7 a.m. on TV One.